Today we're going to be looking at Manic Panic in the color Electric Banana. So first thing you may notice is that my swatches are labeled 1 through 12. I do just want to say that is not synonymous with hair levels. I do different video clips and such throughout the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. Also, they are not virgin hair, so they've been chemically colored, treated, or bleached at some point in their lifetimes. 1 is pink, 2 is gray, 3 is a natural red, 4 is a soft black, 4 to 11 is then a range that goes to platinum blonde, and then 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So I'm going to start by taking the dye directly from the container and I will apply it to the top of each swatch. Some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I will do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take color differently. Plus, different screens and monitors and such can make colors look different, so please just use this video as a reference for how this could possibly maybe turn out for you. For the diluted section, we're going to do a 2-to-1 ratio. So that's going to be 1 part of the dye to 2 parts diluter. I do often get questions on what I mean when I say diluter. And with that, I'd like to just give a really quick, simple answer that diluter is basically something that lightens the color of a semi-permanent dye. Each brand will usually sell their own version of a diluter, which can be really nice in my opinion because it'll keep the same consistency as the dye you're using. But because I do so many different brands and colors and such, I always just use a plain white conditioner as my diluter. I'm gonna let these sit for about 2 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I will meet you back here and we could do some comparisons. So quickly, I just want to remind everyone that my swatches are not virgin hair. So virgin hair tends to be less porous than treated hair. So it usually will struggle to take and hold on to semi-permanent color. So again, my swatches could look different from your hair, especially if your hair is virgin. Now, that being said, I feel like I see a difference on all of the swatches except for the number 4 soft black. But I will say that doesn't mean that the darker swatches necessarily look yellow. They just look different from before. But we'll start with number 1. So number 1 was originally pink. On both the top and the bottom, I would say it looks orange, which makes sense because pink and yellow together would make orange. It does lean a little bit more on the pinky end of the spectrum, but definitely more orange than it was before. 2 was the gray, and that one actually looks straight up green. Now, oftentimes the number 2 swatch will be the most cool tone swatch, and so I don't know if the yellow on top of a gray just kind of struggles, or if maybe the gray leaned very blue. There's a chance that would make sense too, because it did turn green. Number 3 was the natural red. Something I've noticed with the natural reds and putting yellow on top of them is it keeps the swatch looking very warm, but it seems to just kind of take away from that reddish undertone a little bit. And I feel like that's especially true for this neon yellow. And I think I see less red on the direct dye versus the diluted section. I think it looks a little bit more red like before. Skipping over number 4 to number 5, which was the darker brown swatch. That one definitely does not look yellow, but I swear it looks a little bit more golden than it did before. Again, that makes sense since it was a yellow. But overall, I'd say the whole swatch looks about the same. I don't really see a big difference between the diluted section and the direct dye section. I didn't realize that I could have actually diluted it even more than I did. I started out with an equal parts of diluting it, and I decided to push it a little more with the 2-to-1, but now that I see it on the swatches, I definitely could have done my regular like 4-to-1 ratio, but that's okay. You can still tell a difference on some of the swatches at least. So number 6 was a brown, obviously a little bit lighter than number 5. Now that one still overall looks brown, but the undertone almost has like a slightly yellowy green look to it. I think the end, I would say, looks a little bit more golden, but the top direct dye portion definitely has a very like so yellow that it's almost green kind of look. Then we jump to 7, which you could see what I mean, I think, hopefully anyways on camera. That one looks, at least in this particular lighting, looks straight up green. Maybe in the natural lighting, when I do that later in the video, maybe it'll look different up there, but this yellow definitely leans a little bit more on the greenish end, and that really comes through on number 7. But because it is on top of a brown, it almost has like a natural look, like a, I don't want to say mossy because that's not quite the right color, but sort of in that family of greens. 8 is where we start getting into like the darker blonde, and that one I would say probably actually looks the most golden out of all of the swatches. Somehow the 8 swatch was really able to pull the warmth from the yellow, similar to number 5, but you can see the yellow better, where it doesn't lean quite as green as like 7 does, and even 9 and 10 I would say look more green in comparison to number 8. So 10 almost looks darker than number 9, but I think it's because of how number 10 absorbed the color. I've explained in other videos that thing I've noticed anyways is that warmer undertones reflect light better than cooler undertones. So even if they're the same lightness, the cool undertone will always look darker. Now 10 looks more green than 9. So I'm thinking that because the 9 has less green in it, green isn't necessarily a cool color, but compared to yellow, yellow's gonna look brighter always. The 9 swatch looks a little bit lighter in comparison. So the 10 almost has like a yellowy green look to it. Number 11 was the platinum blonde swatch. That one is how I assume the color is meant to look. And honestly, I think colors like this are supposed to be done on platinum blonde hair. So even though I see a difference on all of the swatches, number 11 is kind of like the most intentional looking one. And I would say that one looks pretty yellow as well, especially when you look at it next to 10 and 12, it looks a lot less green. But this yellow in and of itself leans on that end of the spectrum. So there's always a chance that it could look like a little more green in your hair. I would always do a strand test. On that one, you can see the diluted section a little better. It's a little bit more pastel, but I would say also I see a little bit more green in the diluted section compared to the direct dye. And then 12 was the toned swatch. Oftentimes that one will look kind of in between 11 and 2, and I would say that's pretty true. It's more green looking than 11, but not quite as green as number 2 looks, and therefore not as bright looking either. Now, as we know, this is a neon, so I did look at it under a UV black light, and all of the swatches glow, including the soft black, especially the direct dye portion is what I would say glows on the darker swatches. Obviously, though, as the swatches get darker, the less glow there is, but there is a slight glow, so quite interesting. And I don't know, I guess not as surprising, it glows pretty much green under the black light. I would say the lighter swatches could, in maybe some people's eyes, look a little bit more yellowy under the UV light versus green. To me, it looks green. But then as the swatches get darker, it definitely looks green over those swatches. I would say the only swatch that 100% looks like yellow is the number 1 swatch that was pink. Now, pink and green are across from each other on the color wheel, so they kind of neutralize each other. So I'm assuming that could be why the pink kind of neutralized the green undertones in the dye, and so it's left with the yellow. A theory I have anyways. Now, as for comparisons, as per usual, I have 2 comparisons to look at, but I've only ever done one other neon yellow. So we'll start with that one, and that's Arctic Fox in the color Neon Moon. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, And number 9. So I know I've been saying that the Electric Banana kind of has a green undertone, but next to the Neon Moon definitely is an even more greenish undertone yellow, which I think in this regard is the most obvious on number 12. On the Platinum Blonde swatch, the Neon Moon looks like straight up highlighter yellow. So while Electric Banana is bright on its own, it's not as bright without a UV light as the Neon Moon, I would say. But with that being said, the Electric Banana, because of that, I think is a little bit more pigmented versus the Neon Moon. Neon Moon, I think, is especially better on Platinum Blonde. And under UV light, the Neon Moon actually glows even more green than the Electric Banana. So the other yellow I wanted to look at today, it's not marketed as a neon yellow, but it does glow under a UV light. And that is Good Dye Young in the color Steal My Sunshine. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. Now, hopefully you can see on camera, the Steal My Sunshine leans a little bit more warm, so it's a little bit less on the green end. So I would say the Electric Banana is kind of right in between Neon Moon and Steal My Sunshine. So if you've been looking for a bright yellow that's not as green as Neon Moon, but not as warm as Steal My Sunshine, Electric Banana could be a really good option. And you could probably guess, but the Steal My Sunshine glows a little bit more yellow. I think it's still kind of on the green end, in my opinion, under the UV light, but is a little bit more yellow than the Electric Banana. You know, I know a lot of people like to do neons in the summer, but I feel like, at least if you're a Halloween girly like me, I feel like a neon would be really cool during Halloween, because if you go to haunted houses, there's usually black lights in there, so you could like step right in and your hair would glow, and I think that'd be really cool. Just an opinion though. Anyways, now I would like to look at my before and after clips. So we will do that, and I'll just say that those and anything after this point in the video will all be done in natural lighting. I hope my video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so very, very much to my patrons, and thank you for watching. And I hope to see you in my next video.